Hi guys, this is Megan from You Go To Be Kidding. Whew, the cicadas are loud and my allergies are going crazy. But this week I wanted to talk about, are we doing too much on our homestead? Is it too much of a good thing? And it's something that I've been thinking about for the last couple weeks and months, and something I wanted to share with you guys. Are you doing too much? Whether it's on your homestead or not, there's just a lot to consider, and I wanted to talk about that with you guys and kind of go through what I've been thinking and what's been on my mind. So this week, that's what we're talking about. Are you doing too much? My eye really is going crazy with allergies, but it's time to film, so we're just ignoring all of this going on here. But the last few years, homesteading has gone crazy. Joel Salatin calls it the homestead tsunami, and that's awesome. I love that people are interested in what it takes to grow food and raise animals and kind of learn some of those skills that a lot of us have lost a generation or two removed from having to live on farms and raise our own food. And I think that's so cool. But I think too, a lot of people have lost a reason for why. There's so many reasons why people have sought this lifestyle and are trying to do these things. And I just wanted to talk about, what their main purpose is. Are they just trying to do all the things? And should we be trying to do all the things? And has our purpose changed over the last few years? We've been here on this homestead just about 4 years, not quite. But even in that short period of time, have some things changed for us? And, are we willing to pivot and be flexible because of what's been going on? So over the last 4 years, we've done quite a bit. Here on our farm, you can kind of see some of the pastures behind me. They look awesome. It is May, so this is, spring growth. But this is actually just bush hogged within the last week, and it's already back up. It did not look like this when we first moved out here. And so our last few years have been working to regenerate this. Our main purpose over the last few years has been to regenerate our soils and our pastures and to make sure that we could raise high quality food for our families. And so what that's looked like for us is we have raised mini La Mancha dairy goats. We went from 2 and now we have 13 in just about 4 years. We raise Katahdin meat sheep, and we started with 4 but quickly lost one down to 3. Then we've gone all the way up to 13 and we're back down to 5 at the moment. And so they have gone up and down. We have laying hens. We usually have somewhere between 10 and 40, and they're chickens. So it could be anywhere in between that number pretty much at any given time. We have a garden that's gotten a little bit bigger each year. It started out roughly 10 by 30. I never officially measured it. And now it's probably at least 16 by 40. And I've built all sorts of other little pockets and spaces on our property to add garden space to, garden beds, blueberry patches, things like that. Added lots of space. We started with 30 meat chickens. That's what we raised our first year. And this year we're going to be looking at raising 240 meat birds. That's a huge growth that we have slowly increased each year. We've added a farm dog and 2 cats. And that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of, stats. But that's not all of what we've been doing. Not only have we had those animals and those things, but there's a lot of hidden work and time that goes into that too. So on top of that is the learning and the management of the animals, learning about their nutrition and their health, logistically moving them and caring for them and raising them, and the time to milk them. Then there's the time to plant the garden and plan the garden and preserve the garden and harvest it, and cooking and learning how to cook, much less learning how to cook the food we're growing, and learning how to cook more from scratch or with better ingredients. Then there's, a home. So we have housework and laundry and dishes and all the things all of us are responsible for and taking care of. And we choose to homeschool. And so the labor of planning and executing what our homeschool looks like each year, it all adds up. There's all of these things that are good, but they all add up And are they all worth it? With all the things to do each day, it can quickly become overwhelming and just not enough time in a day to accomplish all those things. It seems like there's this pressure to do all the things, to do it perfectly. And that's a lie. That's a lie. We don't have to do it all. We don't have to do all the things. And so I wanted to talk about, so what should we be doing? What should that look like? How do we know? And what's going on? So recently, I feel like God's really been working on me and realizing that I don't need to do it all. And in fact, not only do I not need to do it all, but I shouldn't be trying to do it all. It's not possible, but it's also not on my strength. And so, none of this matters. None of this matters in the long term if we abandon what really matters. And that's that we love God, that we do what He calls us to do, that we disciple our kiddos to love the Lord, and that we love people the way God tells us to. And that's what matters. And that's going to look different for everybody. Everything else is just extra. It doesn't matter if we, go on fancy vacations or do all the extracurricular activities, or our kids play sports, or the latest clubs, or it just doesn't, or all the things, or X, Y, or Z. We don't have to do anything specific, whether we travel or hike or camp or farm or homestead or eat all organic food or only eat meat we raise or only, all those things don't matter if we're not doing what God has called us to do. Yeah, if any of our really good, really cool things are getting in the way of what God has called us to do, no matter how organic it is, or how good it is for the soil, or how cool it is for our kids, or fascinating, or strength building, or any of those things, if it gets in the way of us doing what God wants us to do and loving Him well, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So trying to manage the good choices we have, the so varied good choices we have versus what we should be doing is kind of the heart of what I'm getting at. So since I am a homesteader, I wanted to give some practical tips on homesteading, and kind of from that angle, what can we do to help us kind of manage doing too much and not the right things. And so tip 1 is just don't move too quickly. That can be too many animals, or too big of a garden, or too many different types of things. A garden and goats and sheep and a dog and chickens and rabbits and all the things. All of those logistics, all of those things, trying to manage fencing, shelter, nutrition, health, learning about all of those things, even just logistically, your time to take care of them and move them or manage them. I'm pretty sure it's Joel that says it, but doing a few things really well is better than doing a lot of things poorly. So don't move too quickly by either doing too much or too much variety. Tip 2, don't do too many other things. Find the things that are important, that matter the most to your family. Make priorities, and don't do too much of the other things. We can't do it all, and we're not supposed to. So if you love farming, don't travel a bunch. If you love to travel, then probably don't get into farming, because it's hard to get away. You can, it's just harder. If you have a big garden and lots of animals, then you probably aren't going to do a bunch of homeschool extracurricular things. If you have the most outgoing kids on the whole planet and they just love to be out and doing things with other people, then maybe you cut back on what your animals or your garden look like. But don't try to do too many other activities. And don't forget that if you're growing a big garden, you are automatically including learning how to grow the plants, learning how and when to harvest the plants, how to cook them and use them if there's any steps like curing in between the harvesting and the cooking, and how to preserve that for long term, because you're going to end up with way more than you need for one meal. And that is a whole other side of garden. Yes, grow the garden. It's so fun, and you learn so much by failing and trying. And that's the same in the garden too. So there's a lot going on. Be mindful of what your commitments are adding in terms of other time than it appears on the outset. Number 3, be flexible. Be flexible. Things change. What works for you now might not work for you later. If you have another kid, or a kid grows up and leaves your home, or you need to move, or who knows, the job changes. So many things can change. Your life can change, the age of your kids and their interests and their activities, and your own interests and activities, or an injury or an illness. Be flexible. Be willing to look around and say, hey, this was working, but it's not anymore. Or this thing that I love, it never really worked very well, and I probably need to downsize on that thing. All right, number 4. Number 4 biggest tip is know why you're doing all of this. The best thing that we can do with our lives is to follow God and what God has for our lives, and that's going to be different for every person. But go where God leads. Listen to Him. Pray over big decisions and listen to that prompting. There's been a few times in our lives that we have prayed over a big decision and then kind of twisted what happened to fit what we wanted to happen. And not listening to the Holy Spirit is a surefire way to get you in over your head and overwhelmed and in a situation that is not the best for your family or for you. And evaluate that the purpose of each thing that you're doing. If you're spending hours in your home canning and preserving and cooking and baking, but it makes you grumpy, or you're not spending time with your kids, or you're neglecting other duties, then something has to give. We can't do it all. And I feel like that has been such a huge thing in this homestead movement. And all of us are going to have different strengths. Some people are really great at doing different aspects of this, and it can look, especially on social media, it can look like they're doing it all. But there's some area they're not doing it in, or they're getting help in. Find if the thing you need to change is getting help to do the things you can't do. Cool. But realize your limitations and what God has for you to do and not for someone else to do. For us personally, we made lots of changes. We had a donkey at a time, and we realized she was not working for us. We've done other things as well, or sized up animals or gotten rid of animals. And I think a big change coming up for us is probably these sheep. We are most likely going to work towards getting rid of sheep. They served us well. We originally got them to help with our pastures, and they have done that. We wanted to raise them for meat, and we've done that. But we've just come to realize that we like beef better than lamb, and the amount of logistics that it takes to move the groups of sheep and the groups of goats, and that they can't be together. Those logistics, that time, that stress on mostly Damien for moving animals, but on all of us to care for them, has just not been worth it for us at this point in time. And so I love that they helped us learn how to take care of small ruminants. I learned a lot about them, and goats are very similar, and so they were helpful for that. We were able to process a large animal, and that's a cool skill I'm glad we have, and an opportunity we got to have. But it's pretty easy to find grass-fed beef around here. We even have the opportunity to trade some of our meat chickens for some beef, and so we're going to take that. We don't have to raise all the things. We can raise some of the things and swap with people who are raising the beef. So, yeah, I think these sheep are going to head out. We're still working on the logistics of what that looks like, whether we can find a good farm to send them to, since they are, proven breeding stock, or if they're just going to go to the butcher and maybe go to someone else's freezer. So we've decided that we want to invest our time differently. We don't have 1 million hours in the day, and so the sheep is not it for us. And we still strongly consider a cow over our goats. Sorry, my eye is bugging me like crazy. I'm outdoors. I think it's the grass, which, we have a lot of. So we're still strongly considering a cow over the goats, because logistically that could be 1 or 2 animals instead of a lot. But that would be a huge switch. There's a lot of logistics in switching animals. That's still something that is always up to us. I say no to a lot of commitments outside of our home. There are so many opportunities out there. Good ones, awesome ones, great ones. But they don't have to be a yes from me. My family is not deprived if they are not doing the latest things. I'm not deprived if we're not doing all the things, whatever that might be. Our family relationship is more important. The relationships we build with each other, that the siblings build with them and with us, that is far more important than whatever activity we might do. Each family looks different. Each family is going to pursue different things. God made us differently. That's supposed to be how it is. It's the beauty of this life, is that we're all different. God has wired us differently to enjoy different things, to be good at different things. And I love that. So may your family go and realize that you don't have to do it all. May you follow after what God has for your family, and may you encourage others along their journey. So we appreciate you. We thank you for watching. We hope that you are encouraged to do the next right thing, and maybe say no to the next thing that's not for you. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.